afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Fuel and Fumes podcast, where I am your host, Mac. Unfortunately, Spencer is not with us here today as he is somewhere in the middle of a desert, having a little vacation, taking some time away. He's doing some crazy stuff, hunting ghosts, exploring canyons, taking trips into caves that he probably shouldn't be in. But regardless, we cannot wait for him to get back for another episode soon. But today's episode, we have an amazing guest. He is a world-renowned photographer for Formula One, WEC. He's been all around the world. I think he was just shooting the Dakar Rally recently that just wrapped up. But he's got so many stories just in and around the grid. Some of the behind the scenes things that you'd never think about until listening to this interview. And it really will help give you a greater appreciation for all the things that you see, what fills your timeline. He is probably one of the guys behind all that you see from a weekend. Regardless of that, like us, follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube, all major platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and the sort. You know what? If you're feeling crazy, shoot us a DM. Let us know what you think. And with that, I will let us get right into the episode and go.
This renowned photographer finds himself currently traveling the world and capturing photos and moments from nature and wildlife to architectural masterpieces. However, this photographer's bread and butter is within the world of motorsports, shooting autosports for nearly a decade and more than half of the 2023 F1 races last year. Welcome to the Fuel and Fumes podcast, Mr. Florent Gooden. How are you, my friend?
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm very good. And you?
Very good.
Doing well.
We're happy to have you on. We have a bunch of questions to ask you. We're big fans, so we're excited to just kind of get right into it.
Thanks. You can ask whatever you want to me.
Okay.
Awesome. I love it. So let's start right into how you got into Formula One, not just as a job, but as a passion. When did you start enjoying motorsports? When did that passion come about? Of course, you live in Europe, so it's probably always around you, but I'm curious of when that passion kind of started for you.
Well, for sure, living in Europe, I think it makes it easier, especially as it was before the Netflix series. It's just starting weirdly. I was just passing in front of a store that was selling model cars, F1 model cars. And I was looking at the F1s and I was like, wow, that looks cool. It was a Jaguar, actually. And then I started to watch the Grand Prix right from that moment. So it's really unexpected. I don't come from a family that likes motorsport at all. So from that moment, I just watched every race, and I started to go to some racetracks in Belgium, not just at F1 events, but there are so many different racing events in Belgium. I live in northern France, so it's a few hours drive to go to these places. And then my passion just started shortly a few months after that, and it stuck with me since. It's been, actually, that was 2004, almost 20 years now.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you're like, it sounds like you're really lucky to be living where you live and just like, you're surrounded by so many amazing tracks. I mean, notably spas around, Paul Ricard, things like that. So, it sounds like you're definitely in the right spot for it. So
definitely, I'm like 2 hours drive from Spa, 3 hours from Nürburgring, 4 hours from Zandvoort, 5 from Manicourt, which is the races used to be there in the past. So yeah, I'm really lucky to live here. Actually, I think without that location where I'm living, maybe I wouldn't have been able to get easily into that job, because it was easier for me in terms of money, and having a couple of friends here who could also bring me to racetracks when I was just starting to shoot, actually.
Very cool. What suit do you have behind you, Gooden?
It's Charles Leclerc, first year in Formula One, 2018.
Wow.
Oh, that's a brilliant suit. Where'd you get that from, if you don't mind me asking?
From a French seller.
Oh, brilliant. It looks awesome. You have it very well displayed too. I notice a lot of people put their suits in frames, which I can't stand. You need to put it on a body, and people love hanging them in like frames, and it just ruins the overall art of it. It looks so much better on a mannequin. So I'm glad you have it properly displayed.
I agree. You can just inspect it and just see how it's used, all the marks and all this.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, a lot of people put them in frames, but you want to touch it, you want to feel it. It's a race suit and you want it to be alive. So it's awesome how you have it so well displayed. So on to another question here. So you seemingly have always had a passion for Formula One, like you said, almost 20 years now. So how did Formula One fall into place with you making a full-time decision to commit to F1 on the photography side? How did that come about? Dive into that a little bit.
That's quite a long story because you need to start from the bottom, like the drivers. You have to start with little series. Of course, I was attending like one Grand Prix per year as a fan in the grandstands, as it was also the case in little small series. But the key is just you need to practice. It's not a job that you can get into by just doing studies. You just have to practice and meet people, and then by doing that you are opening your relation circle, and then you meet medias, you meet potentially drivers, some team members, and slowly you can step up from a series to another. And it's how it worked for me. Then a photo agency actually that I'm working for now got starting to be interested into my work, and that was I was lucky also at the time. There was the F1 testing sessions in Europe, and that was much easy to get access and accreditations for compared to races. So that was really helpful. But also I have to say that in the past in F1 racetracks, with a friend, we used to make like fake passes or to climb fences or to get into the paddock without any credential or stuff like this. So you need to make it happen. You have to push for it. I think that it's only the passion driving you at that point.
Yeah, you make a very good point. I think that's one thing that we always talk about in terms of business relationships and just wanting to drive yourself for it, because no one's going to hand it to you. And like you said, you definitely need to make it work with the means you have. And if that's, sneaking in or making it work, it doesn't matter how you make it work, but it's just, again, making it work. So it's awesome to see kind of where you start from the bottom and just working your way up, because we love the stuff you do. So it's awesome to kind of hear the story that kind of came behind it. So yeah, you just got to make it work.
I gotta did you ever get caught doing any of the fake passes or sneaking in or anything like that? Or
actually only once in the paddock of Spa-Francorchamps by a security guy. He just drove us out of the paddock,
okay.
But then the next day we were in again. And but he asked this time, have you got a proper access to be here? And this time we had, because in the meantime we met someone, a marshal that could help us to get paddock access.
Oh, that's brilliant. At least you didn't get put on a list, blacklisted for the rest of your life, or else we wouldn't be here talking about your amazing career. So
yeah, FIA blacklisted.
Yeah. So it's a good point. I had this question a little lower, but you shot your first IndyCar race this year in Long Beach, and specifically talking about the axis of the sport, specifically in Formula One. This is actually where we met, was in Long Beach. But I wanted to ask, how was that experience for you in comparison to other motorsports, and specifically the accessibility? Because we even had a discussion about this. Like you said, in Formula One is very difficult to kind of navigate your way through if you don't have a pass, if you're even able to get that pass. How is IndyCar for you, shooting wise, in terms of accessibility and being be able to go everywhere? What was that kind of different in terms of your access photography wise?
For sure, for me, it really shocked me the difference between F1 and IndyCar, especially when I think IndyCar is as famous in the US as Formula One is, maybe, or it used to be actually more famous than Formula One. Maybe now it's not the case anymore. So the difference is shocking, because in F1 you really don't have any access. I'm speaking as a fan, you know. For me as a photographer, I do get the same accesses in F1 than IndyCar, but for sure as a fan, it was amazing to see, just be able to buy a ticket at the booth just at the entrance of the paddock in IndyCar, which is really not the case in F1. You just show up there and buy a ticket there, and you just go in the paddock, you meet the drivers. I mean, that's really awesome. And the drivers, they are really nice. Like they speak with they interact with the fans. It's amazing. I didn't even know some drivers. I had to go speak to them. Scott Dixon, Simon Pagenaud, these two guys, because I was working for a sponsor that they have in common, and they didn't even know me, and they were adorable. You know, they saw access, and the access was amazing there.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of see. We of course love all types of motorsports, IndyCar and Formula One, but the access it's a different world. In IndyCar, like you said, you can walk around as fans, they engage with fans, you can be right there. He had his first race this year in Toronto, and he was gobsmacked of how close he can get to the drivers, and that's just like not an idea that happens in Formula One. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see.
Especially in the pit lane, I think. How did you like it in the pit lane, Mac? Because
it was amazing. It was
yeah.
like, I mean, just being able to see kind of like all the things that happen behind like behind the scenes, I guess, like being able to see like the pit wall and people, you know, doing like real-time analysis to like figure out tire strategy and like all those types of things. And it's yeah, it was just unbelievable to be like that close with all the people that make it actually happen. So
yeah,
it was awesome.
You definitely have a different sort of fan that likes IndyCar and appreciates. They're diehard fans because I think they feel like they're in the sport.
Yeah.
You're really in the pits and doing that stuff, like seeing tire changes, seeing strategy, like firsthand in the pits. It's a different type of experience watching an IndyCar race in person for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's always different compared to TV. Okay, when you're in front of your TV, you can follow a race better, I think, but
yeah,
you don't have the same feeling, the same sensations than in real life.
And like the cars look slower, and like you don't get the smells and the, you know, all the different things that come along with the race atmosphere.
Exactly.
But I mean, watching every race from trackside might get a little tiring sometimes, I'm sure. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's definitely one we want to get into at one point.
So by my count, you did 12 F1 races, preseason testing for F1, the 24 hours of Le Mans, 6 hours of Fiji, the Dakar Rally, and the Berlin Formula E race. So just a couple of questions from this. Which is there an event that you consider to be most like physically challenging, like on yourself as a photographer?
I would say 24 hours of Le Mans, because that's a really long event. It's not just the race weekend, it's all what's happening before. So scrutineering, driver's parade. You basically get to Le Mans exactly 9 days before the race starts, 8-9 days, and it's nonstop. Every day there is a lot to shoot, a lot to do. So that's a long event, and of course you end the week by a 24 hours race. Sometimes you go to sleep half an hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 4. It really depends on the contract you need to take care of, the people assigned to that contract also. So it's a lot to do there. I would say in a short, as a one event, that can be the most stressful, I would say. Then one step over is even the Dakar Rally, because this is almost 3 weeks. So for sure, this is something that you need to be prepared for. Like mentally, you really need to be prepared to go in the desert for few weeks and not sleep almost at all every night, and follow the race. You just have to follow the flow. You know, there is no other choice. You just have to be there.
Yeah, that, like, I was thinking the Dakar Rally would be the most challenging, because not only are you going for an extended period of time, but it's in the desert, like I'm sure it's got to be hot and sandy and uncomfortable. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting to get that perspective on.
It,
How do
it
you
kind
kind
of
of deal with all the traveling and the time changes on top of all of this? Because that has to be exhausting, switching and flopping. I remember when in Long Beach you had to go back home to France and just hop right back on the horse for photography. So how do you kind of deal with that mentally and even physically? Because even a 3-hour time change for me, it kicks me out for a day. So I'm curious to kind of how you deal with that.
you don't get used to jet lags ever. It just at some point you're just really tired for a few weeks, and then it gets better. It depends on the how many, I would say, different kind of travels you do. If you go far east, far west, it really depends. But yeah, most of the time I'm tired, but I'm happy to be at the racetrack. So once again, I think if you don't have the passion, you can't stay in that job for a long time, for sure, because it's really demanding. I'm at home only one day out of two on overall during the year. I'm gone like for 180 days every year for the job. So that's a lot. That's a lot of time. So more than the I would say tiredness, it's also a bit hard on the family and the family side, and also friends, because you don't see all these people many times, and it's hard to give them enough time also.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. These are all things like, I mean, I didn't even consider. So, wow, it's getting that
And
insight.
I knew you traveled a lot, but
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think it was almost basically half of the year you were gone. So yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely taxing. But like you said, the passion fuels it for sure. If
Yeah.
you don't like motorsports, I don't think that, even if you love photography, I don't think it would be something that you'd want to do. So it's awesome that you have the passion for it, because we do too.
Fueled by passion and coffee, sounds like.
And a few Red Bulls, no
Yeah.
sponsorship.
No sponsorship. C4 maybe. So yeah, just going back to I guess like some of the races that you've shot this year. Is there like a series, or is there a specific race that's more technically challenging from, like actually just taking the photos, or like setting up to take the photos? Like, is there one that really stands out for you, or?
There is a lot of variety. It depends on the series for sure, but even within a series, it can be easy at some races or very hard at others. If I take Formula One, for example, I haven't been to Las Vegas this year, but all my photographer friends in Formula One told me that it was the worst Grand Prix ever they've attended, in terms of organization for them, for the medias, to be around the track, to go around the track. They had no shuttles. They had to walk like kilometers just to go to one spot, and sometimes all the gates were closed, so they had to do another detour to be able to go back to the podium and stuff like this. And you take an event like this, and then after that you go to, let's say, Abu Dhabi, where it's really easy to work at. So even within one series, it can be day and night, from an event to another. But also some events, they are easy, but they are not good in picture. So you tend to prefer a race that's hard to cover, like I would say Singapore, because it's physically really tough there, because you walk a lot also, and it's really hot and humid, and you have all the gear, so it's really physically demanding. And but you are happy in the end of that weekend, because the pictures there, they are worth the effort. It's not the case, for example, in Silverstone. It's like the shittiest track ever to shoot at. So, and then that would be for Formula One. But then some series are really demanding for other reasons. For example, Formula E, it's really everything happening in one day with really short tracks. So you have short sessions, and also as the tracks are so small, there are not many nice spots, to shoot from, for example.
That, and I'm sure everybody's fighting over the same ones, right?
Well, if a spot is good, for sure. If the
Yeah.
track's small and there is a very good spot, at some point all the photographers will go there.
A little bit of a couple of elbows pushing and shoving up. Anything happen?
That's okay. It rarely happens. When you see that a spot is too busy, you just come back later.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't bother. Sometimes it happens in Monaco at there is the tunnel, and then they dive deep into the chicane, and from there you can shoot the exit of the tunnel. But there is only like 2 places, but at the beginning of a session there would always be like 6 or 7 photographers waiting for their turn. So when I see this, I don't even bother. I will try at the end of the session. If there is no one left, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any specific tracks that you favorite in terms of you're excited to kind of go there and shoot? Because like you said, there's a bunch of different options to kind of weigh in terms of what's good and what's bad about a track. Do you have one that you prefer and enjoy?
Well, I spoke about Singapore. For sure, this one is my favorite all time. Every time I go there, I think it's been now 7 or 8 times, I always find something new to do. And that's not really common. I mean, at some point you are always, I hope, getting more and more creative. I hope it never stops, but maybe it will stop at some point. Then I will have to quit, I think. But because you get better with the years, with the experience, you've tried new things. So yeah, in Singapore, I always find new stuff. But if I go to Spa, I go to Spa like 2-3 times a year since 15 years, and you get less and less access every year. So it's kind of getting frustrating there. So for sure, I would say Singapore is my favorite. Monaco, the track hasn't changed since a long time, but it's always so good there. You always make nice shots. The feel of speed is really real there. Then I would say actually Jeddah. I really like Jeddah as a racetrack to shoot at. Usually street circuits they make it good for us, because now most of them are night races, and that allows for more creativity also. But I have other examples like Abu Dhabi that used to be awesome for photography. Now it got destroyed for us because there is a building where the sun was setting behind at a time, and less access at that corner. They modified one corner that was really good for pictures and stuff. So for example, this one was in my top 3, and now it's not even in the average.
Wow.
Do you think that's going to continue to get worse with the amount of fans you have in Formula One and the limited access in terms of how many more people are coming to Formula One races? Do you think that access is just going to continuously get worse for you guys as photographers?
Actually, it's not the more fans coming in the problem. It's just a question of from a year to another, the organization or the FIA decides that this zone, this corner is a red zone, like supposed to be too dangerous, or maybe they build a new hospitality area there where you used to be standing to make a shot, or as I said, sometimes they build a new building somewhere, and the background is not as nice as before. It's more this kind of stuff.
So
I would say the more people coming in is just a bit of a problem now in the paddock. So it's nice to have more people in the paddock, but for pictures it's really hard now, because you don't see as much the drivers as you used to, because now the drivers, some paddocks are so crowded, they just run from their hospitality to the back of the garage.
Definitely making things difficult for you guys.
Yeah. So just hopping back to like what you're speaking on with Monaco. So we know that Monaco and other races like I think it's Zandvoort maybe, but they use cranes a lot of the time for removing crashed out cars. And so like as fans, we're always programmed to like expect to see the underfloor shot of the car getting lifted off. So I guess are like is the underfloor shot like something that photographers strive to get, and is it like have you taken any, or
It
is this
just
just kind of
depends on the job that you need to do. Actually, if you work for a team and you have to do technical details, for sure. If in Monaco you go there and you see a main car like Red Bull or Ferrari crashing, you would just stay there and wait for the end of the session or wait for the cars to be lifted to shoot the underfloor. For me, we haven't done this kind of stuff yet. If we have the opportunity, if we are there, we do it because for the medias it can be also interesting, but it's not like the priority for us. But I know
Right.
that for some of my colleagues, it is a priority because they are working for teams and they need to provide technical shots.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I guess as a fan, like I've never really thought about like, you're there to do something or working with someone. So, um, yeah, that's really interesting. So, I guess you haven't been approached for any of these pictures. It's not as lucrative as they may make it sound. Like,
Actually, it's not photographer is not one job. There are so many different jobs as a
right.
photographer in Formula One. So there are really some guys that are getting paid only to do technical details. There are a few of these guys in Formula One, and I'm pretty sure they earn probably better money than any other photographer actually by doing technical details.
Okay.
I think it's not the most exciting thing to do,
Hmm.
but for sure for these guys, they have this assignment. And for us, we work mostly for medias or sponsors, so we have to illustrate Formula One, like generally, shoot a bit everyone, every car, and then you have the team photographers, and the team photographers they usually have to shoot mostly their team, either for social medias, for press releases, stuff like that. So there are really different jobs within Formula One photography.
Wow.
Very cool. It's cool to kind of get the details of the job because I think most people, as you're explaining now, definitely think photography is just one singular type of shot, and you have kind of one job to go there and shoot the cars and shoot the drivers. But you definitely have a goal that you're supposed to achieve in that day or in that session or in that weekend. So it's interesting to kind of pick your brain and kind of get the insight of what you guys are actually doing on a race weekend.
Yeah, and like I think it's like this is really just blowing my mind because I mean I know so much goes into photography and like everything that we see on our social media and everything like that. But like I mean it's got to be like a thankless job in a way, like especially in the day and age of people not getting credit for their photos and things like that. So yeah, hopefully this will help some of our listeners kind of really develop a better understanding and appreciation for what I mean, just what they see and like the access they get, even though a lot of us can't go to races. And so definitely appreciate it. So
Thank you. I hope it will show a bit more of our work because, yeah, compared to what you see on TV or on social medias, there is always a difference. And until you are working into Formula One, you can't realize what is behind every job, actually. Even like not only photographer, but so many jobs around there. It's so interesting, and there are so many different kind of jobs in Formula One. It's just amazing.
Very cool. So with you being so up close and personal with all the drivers, of course, during the 2023 season, did you have a favorite helmet design on the grid this year? It can be a race special design or any helmet that you like, but is there one specifically that stands out to you?
Hamilton Suzuka.
That's a
I
good
think
one.
this one was on another level. So different. So
Did you
different.
see it on social media before you actually saw it, or did you see him in person with it first?
Unfortunately, I haven't been to Suzuka this year, so
Oh no.
Okay.
exactly.
No.
Just for the
I
record,
would
this
say,
was like the all chrome helmet, right? That he had
yeah,
the lights in the visor.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That one
also
was awesome.
the one of Alonso, that race was looking great
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was. I think that one might have been my favorite of the year.
Yeah, they make some good ones in Suzuka
Yeah.
for
What's
sure.
going on in Suzuka? Like,
Yeah,
even the fans too. I don't know if you saw they had like the hard hats
all
with like the
the
DRS
yeah,
actuators and stuff on it. Yeah. I thought that was awesome.
yeah. Yeah, fans are amazing there.
Yeah.
Have you been? Is that a track you've been to?
Sorry?
Have you been to Suzuka? Is that a track you've been to?
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I love it. The track
Yeah.
itself, the atmosphere, it's so different, old style. The racetrack is really old school, and the fans, they are so different than wherever, They're
Yeah.
not
Mhm.
more they are not more crazy than other race fans around the world, but they just do it differently, and it's really cool.
Is there one track you have not been to yet that you want to go to, or have you basically knocked all your bucket list tracks off?
Uh, Within Formula One, or
Any series.
Any series.
yeah, I still miss Indianapolis 500. This I would love to get an experience there, and also Bathurst in Australia.
Yeah.
That's one of Mac's
That's-
favorite. That's one of Mac's favorite tracks as well.
Yeah, it's mega there. It's crazy track, crazy racetrack.
It's amazing that they only race like a couple times a year on it, right? Like
Yeah.
they do like the 6 hours of Bathurst 1000, and then I think a couple others, but like it's one of my favorite. Just to even drive on the simulator or like watch it, it's mega. I love it.
Yeah.
Going back to the 500s a little bit, have you seen an oval race live? Because I'm assuming a lot of you get street courses and whatnot. Have you seen an oval?
No, never.
You've never seen an oval, eh?
IndyCar this year was my first ever race, and that was Long Beach, so not an oval. So yes,
Oh,
someday, and also NASCAR actually on an oval would be kind of fun to see and shoot, I think.
yeah, that'd be
Mhm.
awesome to do both for sure. You got to come to a 500. That's my favorite race that I've been to, and we keep going back every year. And Daz gets me to go back every year, so that's definitely one you have to knock off. You would love it, man. The raw speed is crazy.
I'll give you a call if I go there.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta sign up for that one, man. You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta get on a plane and head to that one. You would love it.
Yeah, we need some jobs there actually.
Yeah.
Able to go.
For sure. So kind of hopping back into the topic again of Formula One, you spent a lot of time during the early season documenting Max Verstappen's career since 2014 when he moved up to F3. Did you kind of know immediately when you first saw Max on the track that he had the traits to be a Formula One champion, or was this kind of a slow progression, realizing that he could definitely possibly dominate in Formula One?
Actually, you don't have time to realize it was so fast for him. I mean, when I
Yeah.
was shooting him the first time in Formula 2, it was a Formula 2 testing session, winter session. When you get there are so many young drivers. They all come from karting, so you know a few names already, but out of all these guys, you don't even know who will be the champion. It's hard to know. But then shortly after, you hear people speaking within the industry that this guy is really good, this one also, and then just a couple of months after this, the guy was racing hard in Formula 3 already, and I got another occasion to shoot him at Pau Grand Prix in France, and at that moment I knew that he was really fast already. So I made many more pictures of him, let's say in May 2014 than I did in February 2014.
It's very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. It's interesting that you say in terms of it, there's just not enough time or focus on to see the drivers specifically. I think you probably don't even really recognize what's going on in the race for the most part because you're just probably going out there and trying to do your job. So I think definitely, of course, your focus is the race itself, but maybe not what's literally going on in the race.
It really depends on if there are some TV screens around or not. So this depends if you are in an area where there are some grandstands. If there are some grandstands, you can have access to a TV screen, and that helps for sure. But then we have a WhatsApp group with my agency, and there is always one guy there giving key informations like, let's say Leclerc is lapping 1 second faster than Perez, maybe we'll overtake in 5 laps. So if I receive that kind of information, I would maybe move to a corner where an overtake could happen or stuff like that. That's
Wow.
really helpful.
That's pretty sweet though, that you have the real time like information coming through. And
Yeah,
I mean, it does sound like it would be tough to be, you know, an observer, a talent scout, and a photographer all in one go. So it sounds like you got your hands tied there.
So
go ahead.
You go ahead. So for the next segment, we kind of want to do something similar to the YouTube TV series Hot Ones. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically a game where we went into your Instagram last night, and I want to pull up one of these photos, and I kind of want you kind of explain how that photo came about, kind of give just the background of the story. So the first one, I'll have McGregor show you the photo just to give a reminder. But it was in Miami this year with Verstappen hopping out of his car and pointing to the number 1. I thought that for me specifically, I thought that was probably your best photo of the year. You've captured something that to me was awesome and iconic. Kind of what was the background story for that, and how did that shot kind of come about?
So when you are shooting Parc Fermé, you have to focus on mainly the winner, except if you have a client in the second or third position. But that day I could focus a lot on Max, and for sure this picture, I think he had quite a hard race, like overtaking Perez at some point. I don't know, maybe he probably wanted to show that he was, back the king,
Yeah.
So that was a really cool moment. I mean, the look he gives to the medias when pointing the number 1 is really cool. So I just had to follow Max through my lens all the time there, and it's these little moments, because Max doesn't show most of the time. I wouldn't say he doesn't show any emotions, but it's a copy paste at the end of every win from him. He just gets out of the car, goes on the car, and he does this, and that's over,
Yeah.
It's always the same, except maybe 1 or 2 times per year, but that's it.
Yeah, it's just the hands up. You're right. It's just the hands up he does. Yeah, he's not very animated. So that was an awesome photo to me.
Yeah, it was really different compared to his other celebrations.
Yeah, I thought it was badass. I totally thought he deserved to do that. I thought it was epic. I know it was like a little controversial, but I loved it. I was all for it.
Yeah, that was still the beginning of the season. Now, when you look back, of course,
Yeah, exactly.
Spencer and I were hoping that when he got his 11th win in a row, that he would go over to Perez's car and start pointing at it, so he could be number 11, but it never happened. No, he didn't do it, but
we were hoping.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next photo, this was one of my favorite moments, not from the past season, but 2022. Russell's first win in Brazil. How did that photo come about?
That was a really cool moment. It's always nice to be able to shoot a first win of a driver, for sure. So this one, same Parc Fermé. I was this time standing higher because there is a photo platform over the pit lane, and you need to be there to shoot the podium. Actually, that's really high up, and that was really cool because you have a good view from there, and then that when a driver wins his first race, he would do something really cool or different, than the usual. So that was a really cool moment. And actually, the way he was doing this, it reminded me a bit of Lewis when he won his 7th title in Turkey. He just got halfway out of his car and did a bit the same position on the halo.
Wow.
Yeah, that was an awesome win for me. George Russell's one of my favorite drivers, so that was awesome. You were able to kind of capture that moment, and he's definitely one that loves to show emotion, whether that's positive or negative in general. So that's awesome. You were able to kind of show that raw emotion in that photo, because that was just an awesome performance by him.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so the next one we have is the last race of the 2021 season where Max wins his first world championship. You had a bunch of photos. This is just one I pulled out from there. How is that, not just that photo, but how is that weekend in general leading up to it, and specifically those last few laps, you being there and be able to take photos of that? How was that in general?
That was intense. That was really intense. So I was basically at a corner almost all race. And at that corner, I didn't have any screen. I left there, I think, 10 laps before the end. And I was like, okay, Lewis smashed it, you know. He smashed the 4 last races of the year. I'm going back to Parc Fermé for the celebration. Then I just go on a minivan and you know, it's been a great season, you know. So I was like really excited to be going shoot the last Parc Fermé of the year, the big celebration. Then I go out of the photo shuttle and I had no screens, whatever, no informations. And then I stepped down the photo shuttle and I entered the pit lane 10 seconds later. And I see there is safety car. So I'm like, what's happening?
Latifi.
Yeah, exactly. Then I see Latifi on the screen and I'm like, well, okay. Let's see. There are not many laps left. I don't remember how many, but maybe 5 or 6. Something like this.
Not enough.
Yeah, and then when I saw the information on the screen to let the lap car drive by, I was like, whoa, this is gonna be spicy for many for many reasons. And yeah, it was. That was a really, let's say, shocking end of a season for many reasons. But yeah, when it was the Parc Fermé, I was one of 5 photographers only allowed on the track for the Parc Fermé, as working for the FIA. So we had special access, and shooting that moment, I know it was like history, that these pictures, they would last long for sure in Formula One history, because that was probably one of the best F1 seasons that ever happened. And even my colleagues that are there shooting F1 since more than 40 years, they are saying that they haven't seen many seasons like this, you know. So that was really exciting, actually. It was, yeah, as I said, intense. That season was crazy.
It must be very interesting too to feel like you're part of history in your job. It must be very fulfilling too to kind of be there and feel that raw emotion through every shot. So that's awesome that you were able to be a part of that history in general. Because like you said, it's probably one of the best. It'll go down as one of the best seasons in Formula One history. So that's awesome you were able to be a part of it. So the next one I have here is this is a little more lighthearted. Valtteri Bottas's birthday party in the paddock. I saw this one. This one caught me off guard. We love Bottas, so I'm curious kind of how that one came about.
So I was working for Alfa Romeo, and the marketing team, they prepared a little surprise for Valtteri. So they spent all evening, all the previous evening, just inflating all the balloons, you know, and fill up his private room in the motorhome. And then, of course, when I got there in the morning, they told me about it, and they were like, just get ready. Whenever Valtteri comes in, you need to be there to shoot something.
Yeah,
So
you weren't lying with the sea of balloons. He's really in that. We'll throw up the clip too. He's in a sea of balloons here.
That was really funny, and he just stepped in there and he was happy, you know. And I think one of the first thing he said is like, oh damn, that's a lot of plastic, guys.
Environmentally friendly Bottas.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's so animated. He must be like just a breeze to shoot for. Like,
he's nice.
Just
He's
getting a
a
reaction out of him.
proper nice normal guy, you know. He's really, really nice guy.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we got one more here. This was from this year, of course. Checo crashing into Leclerc in turn 1 of Mexico, of course, this year. What was kind of the emotion there in terms of all the fans there? Of course, he's in Mexico and he crashes out. So I'm curious to kind of see how this photo came about and just the overall emotion there when that happened.
Yeah. Well, we were surrounded by massive grandstands there at the first corner, for sure, filled up with Mexicans. So, yeah, it was a lot of shouting when it happened.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
nice
can
words
tell
thrown
you
around.
that straight away from the lap 2 when Leclerc passed by, and they were all booing. Everyone was booing and was feeling sad, I think, for Perez, which I was also. Would be cool to see him win at his own event one day, because the atmosphere there is crazy when something good happens to him.
Mhm.
You must be able to feel that energy at that track for sure, especially when Checo's driving and doing well. So that's awesome. You're able to take that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, all these guys booing. I mean, it wasn't even Leclerc's fault. So
Yeah,
at the
right.
podium, it felt really wrong, because at the podium, all the stadium was booing Leclerc when he was on the podium.
Yeah.
So yeah, that wasn't nice at all.
No, especially when Sergio made the move and he kind of knew he didn't have the room and he decided to make the move and put himself in the position he did. It definitely wasn't Leclerc's fault, like you said, but I think fans are strange, especially in their hometown. I think they're just so
Yeah.
passionate that they just ignore the rules in general and they just want exactly what's, I don't know, right for their driver. So, like you said, the emotion takes over there, and it must have been a pretty harsh atmosphere for sure coming up against the podium.
Yeah, exactly. But it's nice to have all these different feelings and atmosphere, in that sport, because it can change from a lap to another, with some guys winning, some clashes, some crashes. It's just amazing.
Anything can happen in motorsports.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we have just two more casual questions, and then we appreciate your time because you've taken a good portion of your day out. I was going to say, what was, if you did have, what was your favorite photo you took this year during Formula One or even any motorsports? Is there one that stood out to you that you really enjoyed this year?
Yeah, I think it would be Leclerc at Spa-Francorchamps on the Rédillon.
Mhm.
It's a shot that I've taken. Maybe you will be able to show it.
Yeah,
After.
I'll pop it up.
We'll find it.
To you. So it's basically, that corner is crazy, Au Rouge Rédillon, it's so fast there, but it's tough to show the speed in a picture compared to video. And that was during qualifying, and it rained before quali, and then it got dry during the session. So it was creating a kind of a scalextric track. I don't know how to say. And with the marks of the underfloor scratching the ground, so you have a great contrast of the dark wet track and that red Ferrari on that rail, on the like a train, and with the massive bumpy marks on the ground.
Yeah, I think I can picture which one you're talking about, and yeah, that I love that picture with the skid plate or like the marks from it. It
Yeah.
definitely pulls the entire thing together.
And it's full of colors, like with all the lines, and because they've painted the lines outside of the corner there. It's that was a nice shot.
Awesome.
And I guess with that, is there a like a single photo that you took this year, like motorsports or not, that like was your favorite, or it was just like this was the shot that you've been waiting for?
Well, I haven't been waiting for that shot, but yeah, I think that's the one. Technically, it's not a difficult one, actually. It's kind of an easy one, technically. But it's just, you have to play with the elements, like track drying. For once, there is a bit of sun because it was cloudy all day and raining, whatever. When you end up with a different picture like this, for sure you are happy, because most of the pictures we take, they are usually classic, because sessions are still quite short and you have to show the place. So it means that you don't even have a lot of time for proper creative shots, and also now people, they kind of copy each other. So for sure, if you go to that corner, you will not be alone, and many people will have the same kind of picture, usually all over the race weekend. So when you end up with something different, you are always happy.
Awesome. Well, that's all we have today for the questions. We really appreciate your time. Of course,
Thank you
we're in a
for having
6-hour
me,
time
guys.
difference, so we appreciate you making the time for us. Luckily, it worked out today. We could quickly do it in the morning.
That was a pleasure.
Oh, we really appreciate it. Did you want to, what is your at for Instagram for our followers to go and check you out for Instagram?
My at is Gooden Images. So Gooden, GOODEN_images.
Perfect.
Right, perfect.
Awesome. This was a fantastic interview. We really appreciate being able to pick your brain for the 50-minute time we had. So again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. And do you know how many races you're doing next year for Formula One, or do you kind of it just happens?
We are waiting for a bit of some news of potential clients, but I may do a lot of races next year. I think probably 17, 18, something like this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you're going to be busy. So
if you come to Montreal, did you do Montreal or no?
No, I did it last year. You will go to Montreal?
Sweet. Yeah, we're gonna probably go to Montreal. So if we can catch you there, we'd love to see it. And maybe an IndyCar race, maybe the Oval. We got to get you on the Oval.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You
We
so
really
much.
appreciate it, Florent. Thank
Ciao,
you.
ciao. Bye.